Hi everyone, this is James from the Control Listen podcast, brought to you by Octopart. Today we have a special guest for you. This is Keith Hartley. He's the CEO and board member of LevaData. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's great to have you.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Just to start with, do you want to maybe introduce LevaData, tell people a little bit about what the company does, its background?
Sure. So at LevaData, we help direct material sourcing professionals. So we literally help people buy smarter, buy cheaper, de-risk their supply chain, all with their parts, metals, and ingredients. So the company was founded by an ex-Cisco Systems employee who ran direct material sourcing and grew frustrated at the tools that the company had, which involved a mountain of spreadsheets and data sources and databases. And so really the company is about helping an underserved class of professionals, direct material sourcing professionals, who really are at the sort of tip of the spear of de-risking supply chain, saving money, hitting cost of goods sold, and all the nice finance metrics that people are held accountable for. Direct material sourcing is at the front of. And so the company was founded, been around for a number of years now. We've acquired customers and clients and have long-standing relationships in the sourcing industry.
Fantastic. And for you personally, what's your background?
Yeah, my background is in all things supply chain procurement. I like to say that I'm a supply chain nerd, and I guess I've become a procurement nerd as well. So I've had a variety of strategy and execution go-to-market roles with companies like, starting at IBM. I've been at Oracle running sales strategy, and a company like Evalua, and most recently LevaData. So really, I've had a career arc that has led me into really challenging things and really difficult behavioral changes for companies. So the technology is always one aspect. We can talk all day about technology. I love technology. I'm a technologist. At the end of the day, it's how people at companies can change their behavior and their patterns that are long established, that are oftentimes entrenched. And that's what you're really trying to change, is human behavior through the use of technology. So I've been fortunate enough to be at a lot of different companies in a variety of roles that have always put me in those areas where new technology, innovative ways of changing patterns and changing human behavior are meeting people and their companies where they're at.
Fascinating. I love that there's a dual side to that the two go so hand in hand. So just to break down a key point you mentioned earlier, do you maybe want to explain what direct material sourcing is, just for anyone who isn't familiar with what that means?
Sure, yeah. So if you think about products, any product that you buy, there are parts, metals, ingredients, other attributes of things that go into that product. So direct material sourcing is that purchasing of all of those individual components or the componentry. So an example would be, if you look at a cell phone, there are approximately 600 different parts in a cell phone. Whatever cell phone manufacturer you buy your cell phone from, they have people who are in direct material sourcing, meaning they go source the glass, they source the microelectronics, the resistors, the transistors, the MOSFETs, the diodes, things like that go into a device. And it's not just phones, which everyone understands, but it's things from your washer and dryer, your dishwasher, of course, an automobile. Lots of sourcing of finished goods there. Direct material sourcing are the actual components and pieces that go into a product. So when you really break a product down into its bill of materials, the total list of everything that goes into a product, it's the people at a company that go and source those components. A good example is Nike. Someone at Nike somewhere is concerned about buying rubber for soles, and is buying cotton for shoestrings, and is buying all the other materials that go into the shoe. Those people are direct material sourcing professionals. So in the LevaData world, we think about people who are buying anything electronic componentry, And then also plastic parts, plastic resins, which we call custom parts. So outside of electronics, which are usually the largest percentage of cost of a product, the
Right.
next largest cost percentage is plastics, custom
Okay.
parts. And so for us, we work with people who care about buying those components and, worry about where market trends are going and how to de-risk their supply chain.
Fascinating. It's interesting because plastics is one of those things that's people don't even think about that. It's such an integral part of everything, but people are like, oh, it's just part of, people don't think of that as a separate, and separate component of something. It's just a given that there'll be plastic.
Yeah. Yeah. And, someone somewhere has to buy the resins. Someone
Mm,
has to uh, get a machine rate or a molder rate. And, you know, 30 years ago, even 40, 30 years ago, when you talk about manufacturing and making products, people they would buy their components, they would do their sourcing, and then they would manufacture their own product.
mm,
We're living in an incredible age of manufacturing right now, where much of that manufacturing is being outsourced through contract manufacturing. So if you and I were to start a t-shirt company, we have a great idea to make white t-shirts with a logo on them. Instead of manufacturing our own t-shirts, we pay someone else to make the t-shirt and give them a
right.
piece that we pay them. So contract manufacturing. And you're seeing most of the Fortune 500 manufacturers that make products, non-banks, that actually make products, are on a pendulum shift from owning their own manufacturing to contract manufacturing. Many of them are
Interesting.
somewhere in the traversal. And so they're moving more towards contract manufacturing. It makes good business sense when you acquire properties, when you move into different theaters. If you're moving from Asia into North Africa, you might want to start with a contract manufacturing model. And so, what that's driven is this real need for real intelligence on what you're buying and real direct material sourcing competency. Because no longer can you just buy it and manufacture it yourself.
Mm,
You're now maybe buying it and passing it through to a contract manufacturer. Maybe you're telling them where to buy it and what to buy and how much to buy and what price they should buy.
right.
And there are different business terms and language around that channel. So it's a really innovative thing with sourcing, and it's really evolved to keep up with the recent trend towards contract manufacturing.
Makes sense. There was another term that you mentioned the last time that we spoke that I wanted to maybe have you expand on a little bit, which was autonomous supply chain. What exactly is that, and what's the benefit of operating in that space?
Yeah, if you ask like 10 people, you'll get 10 different definitions.
Okay.
I mean, look, in autonomous supply chain, if I were to break it down, it's just some of the supply chain processes using more advanced technology. So you can begin and end that wherever you want. Is it AI? Is it Gen AI? Is it agentic AI? Is it machine learning? Is it robotics? Is it Internet of Things? It's all of those things.
Okay.
And when you think about supply chain, people that care about supply chains are people that make products, full stop. And if you make a product, you have some supply chain. Even though you might be doing a lot of stuff in Excel, you might be a one person manufacturer of t shirts, you have a supply chain. You're buying stuff, you're turning it into a good, and you're selling it. And
Mm-hmm.
so what happens is this autonomous supply chain, as companies and organizations get bigger and bigger, you have disparate pockets of supply chain processes, things like supply chain planning, SNOP, SNOEP, retail merchandising, workflows like that. Then you have execution, warehousing, transportation, and labor management. You have all of those workflows. You have digital commerce, order orchestration, order validation. And then you have the procurement processes for direct materials, things like source to contract, procure to pay, and all of the value in that workflow is held up in the S part, in the sourcing part. Everything
Okay.
else is just kind of, um, it's transactional, it's administrative. You can't, no one has the best AP automation system on the planet and gets competitive differentiation from that. Like you can either source better or you can't better than your competitors. It's pretty straightforward. So
Right.
The autonomous supply chain, to your question, means taking all of these disparate workflows and truly orchestrating them to work in concert with each other, where it's self governing and some of these processes, planning, ordering, scheduling, logistics, delivery, are handled by algorithms. And
Okay.
so today we call that, it's moving towards agency, agentic AI. So there's
Mm-hmm.
AI, there's generative AI, there's agentic AI. All
Mm-hmm.
of that is swirled up in an autonomous supply chain. So for me, the real base level definition is taking all of these disparate workflows, which
Yes.
gets super, super gnarly and complicated as you get larger, and making them all work in concert together and sort of working well without having to constantly be monitored by a human. So it's very aspirational. It's
Okay.
very, I don't want to say it's Star Trek stuff, but look, it depends on, it's all definitional and it's usually a pendulum. And so the exciting thing is someone who's been in supply chain for almost 30 years
Mm-hmm.
is it's exciting to talk about autonomous supply chain because there's a recognition that software vendors, any one software vendor can't do it alone.
Right.
And with the agentic world coming now, you're seeing vendors lose control and the control shifts to the user who can now
Okay.
do their own supply workflow as they like. So it's an exciting time to be in supply chain and for autonomous supply chain.
So this, I want to ask you something. I might start with the AI section because we're already kind of on that topic. How crucial would you say AI is to what you do as a company?
Massive, massive. I mean, so a little over 2 years ago, we on a kind of a lark, we applied for this organization called the AI Authority was having an AI awards. We
Okay.
applied for it and we won best AI in all of procurement a little over 2 years ago, which I will tell you, I think was just strange because I thought we were very, very weak in AI. And it turns out we were further ahead than anybody at that time. We were
Interesting.
just doing some statistical forward variance, some advanced mathematical concepts. Apparently, that was AI. Continues to be AI. We've been doing this for years. So
Interesting.
at LevaData, what we do is we try to take all of the world's information on parts and ingredients and we blend it. So we use AI to be the best blender we can be, partnering with Octopart, partnering with other partners, partnering with our customers. I want to know every bit of data, and I call that attributable data. That attributable data I make specific to a manufacturing part number, and then I can serve up insights. So I want
Okay.
every data source on planet Earth contextualized around everything we can know about a bottom of the supply chain manufacturing part number, MPN. And so AI for us is crucial internally because we're just big data geeks. We take all the data and we blend it. So as a big data geek, you have to use AI to get around and to sort of form this large sourcing model that we have at LevaData. Now, that's all internal geeky stuff, which I care about, but our customers, not so much. They just want to know their insights. Now, what we've released at LevaData is an external user facing AI engine where you can
Okay.
ask simple language queries and get insights and actions right there. So no longer do you have to come into LevaData and take the information as I give it to you. If you can construct a sentence or even a few blurbs of words, you can work with LevaData and we can serve up insights for you. So, how important is AI to us? It's important in terms of driving ease of use, and it's
Mm.
important in terms of how we contextualize all the world's data around parts and ingredients. So for me, I just
Okay.
believe the company that knows the most about data tends to do pretty well in a market segment,
Mm.
and that's where we positioned LevaData where we are actively grabbing every data source on the earth that has to do with MPNs and putting it into our data blender. So AI is really critical. And I can't believe we won the award a couple of years ago. I really don't think we were doing AI, but they say we were. So there you go.
Ahead of your time. Congratulations. Um, so you've covered it obviously in this answer you just gave, but maybe just to make it a little clearer for anyone who didn't pick up on that, what would you say are your key offerings as a company as far as product goes?
Yeah, so we are software as a service. So it's we have a one product offering where we deliver, everything you load your spend. So as a sourcing professional, you load your spend, MPNs and suppliers and quantities and when you want to buy it and price. And then we blend that with over 1 billion data points that we have contextualized, and we serve up insights. So the first insight is just seeing your spend by quarter, by category, by person, by supplier. Then we offer up savings opportunities. So oftentimes we'll see customers who are paying that want to save money. Of course, everyone wants to save money. When you come to LevaData, you come because you want to save money. And so we show savings opportunities, and that's the variance between what people in the market are paying, the variance in distributor pricing, and then what you're paying. So
Okay.
there's a variety of savings opportunities that we show. But then people stay with us for all the other reasons, along with that we're constantly serving up. We also ingest BOMs, new bills and materials. We have some BOM compare capability. And then we have a full featured RFX engine. So once you are in LevaData as a sourcing professional, you want to then go take action. I want to go get new prices. I need to recheck this. I need to recalibrate this. And we have all of that summed up to the supplier and contract manufacturer level, so that when you go and do a quarterly business review or your twice annual negotiation, you can use the LevaData screen and you have all the information at your fingertips, because you don't negotiate one part at a time. You negotiate a basket of parts. And so you need to know how your discounts are blended and how you can go achieve 2, 3, 6, 8% cost savings while de-risking your supply chains, because we have all of the risk attributes contextualized as well. So when I think about risk, I think about very specifically at the MPN level. What are the lead times? What are the years to end of life? What is the age? What is, all of these things. So that when engineers come in, when sourcing professionals get a new they're doing an MPI project for some new version of a product, and 30% of the parts are end of life, that's not a good place to be. So you have to have alternate part matching, which we do. So we've mapped the world of form, fit, function parts across all suppliers. So we know that, 50 ohm resistor and this other 50 ohm resistor, these are correlated, and we're able to make those matches. So we are a one product company that solves both for insights and workflow attributes, because at the end of the day, I want to be the place, I want to be the tool set that a sourcing professional lives in, because their job, and apologies for the long answer, but it's really nuanced.
No problem.
In sourcing, your job is to go negotiate with suppliers and contract manufacturers. That is your job. It's not to be a data analyst. Your job is to go negotiate and get a better deal for your company, whether you're buying more or less, whether you're doing new product introduction or legacy product, whether you're trying to, there's a war in Israel, whether you're trying to get out of Israel and shift to Thailand, whether you're trying to minimize your exposure to China or tariffs in Japan. You're always chasing some use case to solve. And without fully contextualized data, you can't chase that and accomplish that. So our belief is we've created the system that puts the direct material sourcing professional at the center. What do you do during the day? I want to find savings opportunities. I want to de-risk parts. I'm going to a supplier negotiation. I have to go talk to a contract manufacturer. What's my point of view? All of these workflows we solve for in the LevaData application. And that's what makes us so powerful in the market, is that we think purely about the job of being a direct material sourcing agent.
Right. And I imagine that makes you quite scalable as well, considering you can offer different solutions. Well, I mean, the company could find so many different uses for your solution.
Super scalable. We're super scalable. We have no problems. We have customers that have 5, 6, 7 billion of annual spend loaded into our platform, and no signs of slowing down. We have customers who load 50 million of spend. So we run the gamut. We have customers who started with one or two sourcing professionals and one very large Japanese conglomerate, tens of billions of dollars in revenue. They now have 45 users of our system. So we started with two, we've gone to 45. Sky's the limit. So we have no scalability problems. For me, I truly believe that he or she who has the biggest blended data set wins over time. And so where I've focused LevaData's, sizable brain trust on this is all in being a fast, rapid data blender. And I'll give you an example. New prospects that come to LevaData, when we show them the software, they always say the same thing. Wow, that looks great. I don't know if it works for me
Okay.
because my data is in bad shape. You have no idea. I've got 100 spreadsheets. I got lots of pivot tables. It's not good. And so we say, try us. Send us everything you got. And 7 days later, I'll tell you everything I know about your data. And so we
Okay.
go live. We can go live in 7 days. We can
Wow.
show them actually all of our IP around AI is in understanding character strings and data sets that are unknown. And
Okay.
so it's exciting when we get data and our engines have to sort through and understand how to correlate that. And then we work with the client on what their data story tells them because, again, their job is to go negotiate with suppliers and contract manufacturers. It's not to be a data nerd. We take care of that for them.
Right. I was wondering if it would be possible for you to maybe give us like a use case or two, just ways that customers have really found benefit specifically with the software.
Yeah, it's really funny. Use cases are funny because every company talks about a use case like it's the most original thing ever. And I just see the same use cases. So people start by wanting to save money. So,
Sure.
hey, I'm bringing a new product to market. I want to make sure I'm not getting ripped off. Or we're shifting from our own manufacturing to contract manufacturing, and we lose visibility of buying components, and we need to trust but verify what our contract manufacturer is saying. So I need to make sure I don't, you know, that I'm not getting taken advantage of. It's always to save money. So when you can direct line show hard savings of, our customers tell us it's between 6 and 10% a year every year, and we've had customers for 8 or 9 years now. We save them money over and over and over because our engine is always on, showing them opportunities.
Mm.
But they stay for other use cases. Some companies really care about risk. So, do
Okay.
we have end of life components? If they're fast moving, end of life components can stall production. It's a killer in manufacturing. Some don't care about that. Some clients care deeply about tariffs at the individual part level and have no visibility into tariffs.
Mm.
So oftentimes we'll show them in our software, oh, if you were to, here are the parts you buy from China, here is a subset of those parts that you could also buy in Japan, and at the current tariff rates, here's what you can save. I mean, it's an
Interesting.
incredibly powerful tool when you know locations. So that's another common use case. I would say two more use cases have to do with sort of actions out of our system. One is, as a sourcing professional, you're always dealing with bills of materials. You're always dealing with new product introduction. And maybe I'm going from the iPhone 15 to the iPhone 16, and how much part reuse and how much on hand inventory. That whole workflow we just call BOM management, so BOM awareness. We're able to ingest BOMs, compare BOMs. You're able to simulate, like, what if I changed these parts and I bought them in these countries, and what does the cost do, and form fit function parts. We're able to do all that in our BOM tools. That's a very common use case. And the last one I would say is everything RFP, RFI, RFQ related. So when you're in sourcing and you spot an opportunity where you need to go get a better price, today, most people flip from their spreadsheet to Outlook. And they send an Outlook and they attach a spreadsheet. Well, if that person resigns, if that person gets hit by a bus, if they just stop working for whatever reason, that trail, that history is lost. And so for me as a supply chain and procurement person, I want that as a workflow in a system where I can see and monitor and track independent of who's doing the RFX. And so we've built an entire workflow engine inside of our application. Now, most companies we deal with have a big RFP tool for indirect. So buying your laptops and your pencils, and there's a big RFP machine. Ours is built for the sourcing professional in mind, so that you can communicate and collaborate directly with your suppliers and contract manufacturers. So when you have the information, you should be able to collaborate right there. So you don't have to flip over to Outlook or Gmail or whatever you're using. You just do it right there in the system next to the data. So those are some common use cases, but the bottom line use case that 100% of our customers are always there. Everyone wants to save money. Who doesn't want a better deal if they think they can get one? Or they're open to the idea of someone pointing out, this is how you get a better deal.
Right. Just to change direction slightly, I did see on your site that you actually have some thought leadership content. And there were two areas that really stood out to me. I wonder if you maybe just go into them a little bit. Decision abyss and data gulch. Those are interesting terms. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about what those mean?
Yeah. Well, this is really exciting. I created the concept of the decision abyss. I guess maybe it was last year. And this is kind of where sourcing teams and product teams and supply chain teams are stuck between fragmented, siloed systems, processes, communication patterns. And, I would oftentimes see an engineering team come to the table with some data and a point of view. The supply chain planning team would come to the table with their data with a point of view. And the direct material sourcing and supply planning team would come to the table with some data and a point of view. And they were all right based on their view, but none of them had a broad enough based view to be able to understand these fragmented systems and these departmental silos to be able to make the best decision. And it creates this phenomenon that I've called the decision abyss. And what that means is because of how these procurement, supply chain, throw finance in there and product are acting, you get this sort of decision-making abyss where they're gripped by, we're going to make a bet, they're going to have to make a decision, but there is this abyss to why they can't get to the right decision, despite smart people doing the smart thing and being very smart with what they know. So so when I first talked about the decision abyss, it was it was a metaphor for kind of this lack of contextualized data. You've got all these data pockets and people they're genuinely trying to do their best, but they can't see the forest for the trees. Right. But it wasn't the decision abyss. That's the result. That's the tip of the iceberg. The part that's underneath the waterline, the bigger part, is actually the data gulch. And it comes from these pockets of siloed data that allow them not to take advantage of contextualized data and the inherent effect, which is making better decisions that sort of take into account all variables. And so part of the issue, James, is that sourcing professionals are wicked clever. They're very resourceful. And so we've normalized the pain of this phenomenon. As a supply chain and procurement person, we normalize the pain. Hey, I've been using my spreadsheet for 50 years. It sucks, but nobody else can help me. That's literally, and it's it's the adage, you're going to pry the spreadsheet from my cold, dead hands. Like, this is my spreadsheet, and I've been working in it my whole career. Like, it's just not tenable for the new world. And particularly with all the tools, agentic AI and Gen AI, with all of these things here now, it's such a better mode for us to operate when you can address the data gulch and the sort of higher order of making better decisions as an organization. So I've continued to write about that. I have an upcoming book on it, which will be published
Okay.
near the end of the summer. Very excited to talk more about the decision abyss and the underlying data gulch, which is that'll be out in September.
And what's the title of the book?
It's called it's called Conquering the Decision Abyss.
Ah, okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Uh, so I'm going to pivot again now. Talk more about some general industry trends within sourcing and supply chain. Have you noticed a lot of change in the past, say, 5 to 10 years, surrounding world events, things like regional conflicts, COVID, and how have those things affected the supply chain?
Yeah, I would even go back further. I mean, look, I've
Okay.
been in supply chain my whole career, and you used to have to explain to people what supply chain meant. I'd have to, explain to my mother what a supply chain was, and nobody really cared, and that's okay. People, you go to the store, you get a product. That's the way the world should work.
Hmm.
And for decades, ERP, enterprise resource planning projects were prioritized. You do ERP consolidation projects, ERP rationalization projects. You do upgrades when it was on-prem. Then you went to cloud and you had cutover and you had federated ERP systems and non-federated ERP systems. And so an ERP system is just a fancy term for a general ledger. It's an accounting ledger. And so
Okay.
it takes care of your finances, and that's super important. But there was this sort of tendency for organizations to invest in ERP systems and to take bubble gum and earwax and hold your supply chain together. And so what COVID is the great accelerator of supply chain innovation, because finally people realized how vital this was to getting products to market, to
Right.
actually having robust, resilient processes. I don't know if you visited a car dealer during COVID. There'd be like one car on a lot. They couldn't get microprocessors. They couldn't, I mean, there were all sorts of well documented supply chain issues. And so COVID has been the greatest commercial ever for why you need a resilient, strong supply chain. Now, those of us in the business have known this for a long time. We've been a little bit of the canary in the coal mine, yelling and saying, like, your supply chain's weak. And you would be surprised at some of the leading global brands who have inadequate and frail areas of their supply chain. Now, COVID has really changed a lot of that. When I sit with CFOs or I sit with the CEO, now supply chain is number one or two on their tongue. We're such an interconnected global economy. There's a war in Israel. We've got, unrest in other areas. We've got a U.S. president with tariffs just coming up here and there. So you
Hmm.
see the frailty of the system in general. And so it's really driven a lot of excitement for someone like me, because now you're seeing real investment, real advancement, and real supply chain and procurement being top of mind for
Mm.
C-suite leaders.
Would you say that there's been a shift? I guess the terms people use are from just in time to just in case with the supply chain.
Yeah, it's really it has been. It's been just in time. Some great terms there as the industry has evolved. It's been a just in case, but I think that I would even go. I'd go one cut deeper.
Okay.
Companies have always stressed, just in supply chain, the ability to forecast demand as being a premium over quantifying supply that's needed. And what
Okay.
COVID taught us in some of the high visibility examples is that if you're even one part or one plastic piece or one gasket short, you have a work in progress on your balance sheet. It's an unfinished good. And
Mm.
that is crippling to a company when you have a lot of WIP on your balance sheet. So if you're producing something that requires 5,000 parts, 50,000 parts, or 5 parts, you can't miss on one part. And to think about that for a second, there are companies that make products that buy 200,000 separate MPNs in a given year. And it's incredible. You can't miss on the supply side. So for me, what I've seen, just in time, just in case, real time, everything, those are nice terms. The companies that make products have always prioritized the demand signal more than the supply signal. And thank goodness it has now leveled out. Because managing the supply side of the equation is equally as valuable as managing the demand side. So if you make phones, you're trying to predict how many you're going to sell in a given market. That's a worthy exercise.
Right.
Equally as worthy is make sure we have enough supply of all the parts to fulfill whatever the demand range is. And so
Right.
now I'm seeing that get a lot more credence. And so what that means is when you have 5,000 parts or 50,000 parts, and one lead time is 24 weeks and one lead time is 2 weeks, that's a problem.
Right.
Because if it takes me 24 weeks to get a part, that means my demand signal better be really, really accurate. So, for those of us that are, and those listening to this podcast who may not follow that, it's like trying to throw an arrow at a moving dartboard. And so on the demand side, you're trying to slow the dartboard down. On the supply side, you're trying to get enough arrows so you can throw it a couple of times and hit it. And so for me, it's a really important readjustment where supply has become equally as important as demand.
Makes total sense, but it's something people don't think about again. Uh, so the last question I have for you, just to before we wrap things up, is coming back to AI one more time. Uh, how fast have you seen the rate of change in supply chain innovation grow since AI became readily available?
Yeah, so let me give you two answers. I mean, obviously, everyone's talking about it. It's huge.
Mm.
I would say most of the AI that I've seen in organizations has been in horizontal use cases,
Okay.
chatbots, things like that. There's been very little deeply vertically specific AI use cases. Um, and those of us in procurement and sourcing, we're a bit laggard in terms of that. I think some of the other areas of organizations are a little less mission critical, and you can kind of play around with AI use cases. So I've seen the adoption in sourcing and procurement. A laggard is not a bad thing. Sometimes you want to work out the kinks and get it there. So laggard is not a bad thing
Mm.
necessarily at the pace of change. But every organization that we deal with is talking about it. They're investigating it. They're looking at it. They're evaluating it. But I think with the right level of skepticism and awe at the same time. Look, AI is going to radically transform a lot. I think we believe that. But I believe as you look at technology innovation, things like this have come along all the time. And there's like a wave of like euphoria, and then the kind of the soberness kicks in, and then the real building begins. And I think we're just kind of getting over the euphoria phase where now the real work begins of changing human behavior with AI. So that's the big thing. The technology is there. Like
Mm.
we're doing so much with it already. The technology is not the problem. It's the user pattern with the technology. It's the behavioral aspects. And I can't stress that enough because it's not is AI good or bad, or should we use AI, yes or no, or how much have things changed. It's really about how do you get a group of people who have done a job a certain way for so long to think differently. And
Right.
so all sorts of changes have to happen for that to happen. And I think we're on our way, but it will not happen overnight. Even though the
Right.
technology's there, it's not a technology problem.
It's a culture problem.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, honestly, it's been a fascinating discussion. We could have kept talking for another hour easily, uh, but we have come up to time. So I just wanted to say us one more thing: is if people wanted to keep up with LevaData, check out the products, check out all the thought leadership. What's the best place to do that?
Best place is to head over to the website, LevaData.com. There's a whole host of proof of concept options, ways to engage with us, ways to get free trials, ways to look at our software and engage with us. And it will be well worth your time. So thank you, James. This has been great.
No problem. Thank you so much. Oh, last thing is, if people want to just follow you on social media, what are the best places to do that as well?
LinkedIn is best for me. I'm a LinkedIn. Please hit me up on LinkedIn. I don't know what my profile URL is, but I'm sure you can find me. It's just Keith Hartley and LevaData. And also, I publish weekly on Substack, so it's
Oh,
linked to my LinkedIn and also to the LevaData website. I post on all things decision abyss and just things that I'm seeing in the market, sourcing trends, supply chain trends. So please hit me up there and follow my Substack.
fantastic. Thank you, Keith. It's been really great chatting with you. And for everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Come back next time for another guest.